Hello, everybody. Today I want to talk about a common issue facing many patients taking GLP-1 medications like semaglutide, tirzepatide, and retatrutide, and that is the loss of energy. We have a special protocol here at Prestige 2.0 in which we combine the GLP-1 medications with NAD+ to help boost overall energy levels. But before we get into NAD+ and talk about what this coenzyme is, let's talk a little bit about the fatigue that occurs when patients are taking GLP-1 medications, because it's critical to understand that weight loss is not a linear process. You don't look at X number of months and say, I need to lose Y number of pounds over X months and think it's going to be this straight line. No. Weight loss, when done correctly, requires progressive resetting of the body to new weight that the body can tolerate and eventually adapt towards. And it's critical that people understand that, because the first 10 pounds that you lose is not the same as the next 10 pounds, and so on and so forth. Your body has to engage in different metabolic processes at each stage of the weight loss journey. It doesn't appear immediately obvious to us because we're not aware of the overall body physiology until we start to see an effect from the medications itself. Oftentimes that can be constipation, or in this case, fatigue. They are not side effects of the medications. Rather, they are side effects of the body's response to the medications. Now, that may seem like a distinction without really a difference, but the key thing to understand here is that your body engages with the GLP-1 medications in different ways along the weight loss journey. Typically, for many patients, there is an increased metabolic cost for the weight loss as you start to lose more weight. Just a fancy way of saying your body requires more energy to lose weight after it has already lost a significant amount of weight compared to when you've initially started weight loss. So that's why a lot of people are like, man, I started GLP-1 medications, I was losing all this weight, and then boom, I hit a plateau. Doctor, what's going on? What's going on is the metabolic cost for losing additional weight has become cost inefficient, meaning your body starts to fatigue because you're shifting energy away from traditional metabolic functions towards the weight loss itself. As a result, your body reacts and it stops losing weight and it starts conserving energy. Hence, you start to feel fatigued because your body is not willing to expend resources for energy like it did when you first started losing weight. All of this is to say, NAD+, a coenzyme, can help address this by providing much needed energy to your body. So we've gone this far without actually explaining what NAD+ is. So let's talk a little bit about NAD+, the coenzyme, and how that can improve overall energy metabolism. So NAD+, big word here, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NAD+, is a coenzyme that's required for metabolic processes in the organelle within the cells called the mitochondria. Now, I'm sure many of you are having flashbacks to high school biology, but it's a critical point here. The mitochondria engage in a process known as oxidative phosphorylation, in which electrons are going in and out of the mitochondrial cell membrane, and in the process of doing so, are converting ADP into a molecule known as ATP. NAD+ helps optimize that process. As a result, NAD+ helps to increase the energy storage in a patient. That's why many patients who take NAD mention, hey, it's not as if I felt a stimulant, but I just didn't feel tired. And that's the point. It increases your body's reserve of ATP, and as a result, you don't feel as fatigued or drained as you would if you did not have that additional enhancement of energy storage in your body. That in a nutshell is really how NAD+ works, but how will it help with the weight loss journey is something that we should probably discuss a little bit further. And so I created a PowerPoint presentation that'll really help us to understand NAD plus and GLP-1 medications, because it's critical to understand that as you start to lose weight, you are going to see weight loss plateaus. That is a natural journey of healthy weight loss. The key thing is to not get frustrated at the weight loss plateaus and recognize what signals your body is sending to you, like a lack of energy, and how to overcome those resistance points. So here's the idea. The GLP-1 medications produce weight loss by adjusting the rate of blood sugar, focusing the body on fat loss metabolism, not carbohydrate-based metabolism, ketolysis, not glycolysis, right? And as a result, your body has to expend metabolic energy to focus on fat loss. Over time, the cost becomes, in many cases, cost prohibitive. As a result, you have an energy gap, which results in fatigue, exhaustion, and declining motivation that can come if weight loss is not properly checked. As a result, the NAD plus helps to improve the weight loss journey by overcoming the weight loss plateaus that's due to the energy gap. Now, you start to see the logical framework here when it's positioned in this manner. And that's critical, because you need to understand that you are the best receiver of your body's signaling. So the signals that your body is telling you that, hey, I'm feeling fatigued after I've lost all this weight, what's going on, tells you that you need to overcome the energy gap. As a result, the NAD plus helps to optimize the energy in 4 critical ways. Energy conversion, as I had mentioned, increasing ATP production through the process of optimizing oxidative phosphorylation, DNA repair as a result of the optimized oxidative phosphorylation processes that then leads to improved brain function and metabolic health. So you can see how all of this is synergistic just by focusing on one key lever in the body, and that's the NAD plus. So let's talk about how we can incorporate the GLP-1 with the NAD+. So many of our patients here at Prestige 2.0 that are on semaglutide, tirzepatide, retatrutide, they start to see the weight loss. And we incorporate a lot of innovative protocols to help the patient lose weight at a very healthy clip. This can include adjusting the dosage, the frequency, the timing of the medications to optimize the body's receptivity to the GLP-1 medications. Eventually, however, the energy gap will appear. Now, what happens is when that energy gap appears, we have to first focus on input control, standardize the diet, and focus on optimizing the blood sugar levels, the glycemic index. And that's critical, because when we start to introduce the NAD plus at the moment that energy gap appears, we want to stabilize everything that takes place outside of the introduction of the NAD. That can include the diet, the exercise, the fasting schedule, all of those key components. Because the fewer things we change, the more control we have over the body's signaling. And that's critical to understand how we can combine GLP-1s and NAD in a way that helps to lose the weight effectively by overcoming the energy gap. So what I would recommend for many of the patients who are starting to combine NAD plus with the GLP-1 medications, fix the diet, fix the fasting interval. Again, we don't have to go to David Goggins level of extreme behavior, but we have to have something that's consistent. So identify a fasting schedule, whether that's an intermittent fasting schedule or another form of circadian rhythm-based dieting. Keep it fixed. Don't make it too extreme. Keep it realistic on a certain number of days that works well for you. If you're somebody that likes to socialize with friends and family on a Saturday, give yourself a break, but just stay disciplined the other days of the week. Create a diet that's realistic and works for you. You know, we're not all monks at a seminary on a diet of bread and water. We need to live our lives, and we need to have a diet that's realistic. So we have to focus on creating a fixed diet that's anti-inflammatory but realistic for the life we want to lead. I also recommend patients to engage in minor exercising and regimenting the sleep schedule, just because you want to keep the behavioral factors as consistent as possible. Now, again, NAD plus is a coenzyme, so the dosing is not as critical as the standardization of everything around the NAD plus implementation. And it's a key thing to recognize here, because giving yourself more NAD plus is not going to give yourself more energy. Simply by producing the NAD plus into your body, you're naturally easing the oxidative phosphorylated processes that would then lead to increased energy storage in the body. And that's a critical distinction to make. So as you start to look at how to incorporate NAD plus into your weight loss journey, the key factors here is that you want to introduce it after you've had a steady state rate of weight loss with the GLP-1 medications and are subsequently experiencing the energy gap after a prolonged period of successful, stable, healthy rate of weight loss. Once you identify that energy gap, you then implement the NAD plus. We can discuss the dosing protocol. It's a little different than peptides, but the key thing to understand is once you find the optimal dose of the NAD plus, you stick to that dose. There is no dosing scheduling change with the NAD plus, because remember, it's not a peptide, it's a coenzyme. It optimizes the energy production pathways. So increasing the dose of the NAD plus is not going to result in a meaningful increase in energy like you would say, hey, I need another cup of coffee. And that's an important distinction to make with NAD+. It's not a stimulant. It's not going to give you an immediate energy boost, but it's going to prevent the episodes of fatigue that come as a result of the energy gaps. So if you're interested in incorporating NAD+ into your weight loss journey and want to learn more about our advanced weight loss protocols that focus on addressing key energy gaps, contact us at Prestige 2.0 and we'll be more than happy to go over a specific protocol that works well for you. Thank you.